Today we look at cows' feet. These lambs play in the field. An old friend comes out of retirement. This cow gives me a seriously big surprise and ends up being a little gruesome. This is the Hoof GP.
That's not even a joke. I'm absolutely shattered. Anyway, just like those fine specimens of men. Oh, if you think so, Graham. That's called sarcasm. So, for old time's sake, we are taking the Appleton Steel to work today, and I couldn't be happier about it. Really looking forward to this. A lot of you guys won't even have seen this on the channel. It got trashed a wee while ago, and the roof ended up coming off and stuff. But it's all tarted back up right now. The roof's not back on it. We've not bothered. There's no real issue with that. I'm hardly ever trim outside anyway. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to trimming again today on the Appleton Steel. Magic memories. So as we're leaving the house here, you can see it's a bit of a grey day here in southwest Scotland. But the lambs in the field are absolutely loving it. It's cool that our house is surrounded by agriculture because it reminds me of when I grew up on a beef and sheep farm. Anyway, it's on through Wigtown for us, and actually, today, I'm able to drink my coffee and film myself as we drive along because I have a driver. Kev Boy's chauffeur for today. Thanks, Kevin. What's your bumps? Oh, now you'll see the men sorted from the boys. Kev Boy's trying to reverse this in. He's actually quite good though. Coming. Hi. That's us all set up. I'll be honest, it took us a lot longer today than it probably did the last time we set it up. But it's been a good 6-7 months maybe since we used the Appleton Steel. This was my original fantastic crush. Well, it's still fantastic, it's brilliant, but we just prefer the KVK right now. Here's the girlies for today. It looks to be maybe 22, 23, something like that. Kevin's going to load them in right now, and I'm going to keep them moving down the race because as they get towards the front of the race, they'll see our crush and they'll think, that's not normal, and they'll stop. The first ones will walk in fine, look. As you can see, they've walked in fine, they're getting close to the crush, and her head goes up as she sees the crush and decides to stop. I was going to say it's not because they're scared of it, but it is because they're scared of it. They're not used to it. Even though we come here every 4 weeks to this particular farm, they're not used to the crush being there, and they certainly don't want to go in it because they've no idea what it is. So again, cows have two thought processes. What's that? Or, what's that? And usually to begin with, it's the latter. If we left her here for long enough, she'd be up round about sniffing it because she would know it wasn't going to hurt her. Come on, on you go. If you haven't seen that before, that is pretty cool, isn't it?
I think it's safe to say there is some oil required. It's straight on with the job in hand, reminiscing of times gone by when we used to use the Appleton Steel every single day. These cows are mostly routine jobs. Just like this hoof, all we're doing is balancing her up and making sure there are no real problems starting to materialise. Unlike the next foot we're about to trim.
You can tell it's a bit rusty. Straight away, this is a cow that's been in before. It doesn't actually look like it was us that trimmed it. It was probably the farmer who is a fantastic trimmer because he's taking the Hoof GP online trimming course. That wasn't intended, but it is completely true. If you want to take the Hoof GP online trimming course, you'll get a free starter kit worth about $220, which is totally amazing. And the course itself's about $290. The course itself isn't much more than the starter kit anyway. The link is right at the top of the description below this video.
We'll just give her a quick clean.
Not just saying this, Jack, if you're watching... How rude. Apparently the steam's good for your complexion anyway. But Jack, if you're watching this, genuinely, good job, mate. All we're going to do is remove these last little bits of detached hoof horn, which Jack may or may not have missed. They might have appeared since he did the trim. This trim's clearly been done for a week or so, and it's been much more open when he trimmed it. Code brown! They do say variety is the spice of life though. Urine and feces all in the same cow. All we're doing here is scraping it clean just to make sure there's nothing underneath there, which I don't think there is. Actually, get rid of these kind of little raggedy bits of hoof horn. This has all been open. This yellowness is serum from the blood seeping into the hoof horn as it formulates, builds and grows. So I can tell this has all been a bloody mess when Jack originally trimmed her. So we've got a little open bit there. This is the original ulcer, and then all this is kind of weepy. That there needs to come away though. All we're doing is spraying it with Repidermat to keep that pesky dermatitis at bay and continue Jack's good work. And that's the first cow through the apple steel, done. Right, on to the rest. And apparently, Kevin says my guess was good. There is exactly 22 cows.
Although clearly what you've just been watching is sped up by a huge amount, these cows really are fast to trim. Because they're so well looked after and because we're here routine trimming so regularly, there is very little work to do in order to keep their feet in perfect condition. This back left foot on this cow is the perfect example of that. All she needs is a little buff, a little polish, a little balancing and a little TLC, and she's good to go. The farm we're trimming on today is literally only 1 mile from my house. Over the years, I'm lucky enough to have built up a customer base very close to the proximity of my house, so I don't have to travel very far at all. Previously, I used to freeze brand cows, and that job took me to the Highlands and Islands of Scotland. I absolutely loved every minute of it, but now that I'm aging slightly and have a young family, I much prefer working close to home.
Too high? Aye, that's alright. Well, you're trying to get a good photo of the three of us and the cow, the cow keeps dribbling on Kevin's face.
Now that doesn't look like what it is.
He actually stars in over 18s only movies on his spare time.
And with that rather disturbing mental image, it's on to the last cow of the day, who has a real surprise in store for us. This is not what I was expecting, as you'll see from the expression on my face.
So here's another one that Jack's had to go at trimming, and I say had to go at. Again, he's done a really good job. And believe you me, if you knew mine and Jack's relationship, you know I would happily tell you how terrible that was. But unfortunately, Jack, it's pretty darn good. So again, she's got a sole ulcer in here. Jack's trimmed away all the height. He's added a block to take the weight off this hoof, and he's dished this area out. I think by looking at the wear on this block, he's probably done it this last week, and he could have taken a little bit more of this loose and detached hoof horn from around the sole ulcer. You can see it's still bitty and there's slight holes in here. Also, these little raggedy parts here are fantastic at catching dirt in amongst them and causing dermatitis, which, as we all know, is a bad thing. So all we're going to do with this trim is just basically give it some finesse, just finish it off really. actually more detached hoof horn here than I first thought. But to be totally honest, that probably has happened since Jack trimmed this hoof, which is why these rechecks are really important and why farmers like Jack, who's actually the dairyman at this farm, are so good at being relentless at giving us these cows again and again and again until they're completely healed. You see, if we look from the bottom here, you can see this ulcer is actually protruding, and we're starting to remove this hoof horn from round about, actually making it protrude even more. But again, this is a fantastic place for bacteria to be harboured and cause this to get even worse. You can actually see this is slightly infected. I don't know if you could see that. If we just rewind a second, you'll see a little bit of fluid coming out from here. Yep, typical. I thought I'd just grazed her a little bit there, and I have. Rid of these little raggedy bits of hoof horn that are no use to her or us.
As I start to trim this area really close to the ulcer on the axial wall, I need to be as careful as I possibly can be. This area is extremely delicate and thin, and if I cut in too deep, I could undo all of the positive work that Jack has already achieved. Although, as it turns out, it's a lot worse than it looks right now.
I'm desperately trying to make sure that I don't cut into the corium here, but I need to get rid of these little shards of detached hoof horn. Oh, that's us. Lovely.
Now at this point, I'm pointing out where was a problem area. This is a healed ulcer site, and it's genuinely looking fantastic, but what lies beneath is not always the same.
Yeah, go to... What? Where did that come from? So I was just about to put that foot down. Our last little check is to put a bit of pressure on it to see if she reacts. And it's literally just burst open, look at that.
I don't know if this is just a tiny bit of discharge or a real problem, but I do need to find out.
That just goes to show you why you do those final checks. I never thought there was much wrong with this hoof. I thought it was nearly completely healed, to be honest. But as luck would have it, during the final checks, making sure that there's nothing wrong, we found the problem.
I now know there's a cavity within, but I need to know whether or not this hoof horn is detached, so unfortunately I need to press on the sole of her foot to find out.
So I told you earlier that I grazed her.
Yep, typical. I thought I'd just grazed her a little bit there, and I have.
You see? Now maybe that's some higher power above us helping us out, because if I hadn't done that, which was completely by accident, we wouldn't have found that, because that is the expel site of the abscess. It's the fistula that we've created inadvertently. Fistula means exit from an abscess. It's like a hole in the skin, basically. Now we have a problem. We can't cut into live tissue. I'm pretty certain that is live tissue, and I've just scraped away the surface there to make sure, and it is. So the call of the day is to ask Jack, to ask the advice of the vet, and she'll probably, or he will probably, give her antibiotics. They'll definitely give her anti-inflammatories, and we'll come back in a week or so that we can re-trim this cow's foot once the infection has died down. Right now, all we're going to do is clear it off, douse it with iodine to try to keep it sanitary. Jack's done a good job with this block, so we don't really need to do anything else there, apart from check her other feet. Obviously. Sorry, Jack, but you've gone too far on these heels. This is what I mean. So I'm guessing, and this could be incorrect, but it looks like her heels are too low, meaning Jack has reduced this part of her foot too much and she's walking back on her heels, which could start to cause bruising here. We need to tip the cow's foot forward so that she's walking more acutely, so the foot is much straighter to the leg, and that prevents bruising. It's not ridiculously bad, don't get me wrong. She's not gonna go lame. It's just, it would have been better if we hadn't touched her heels. As it is, there's not much we can do about it. All I'm gonna do is check these little issues. Yeah, that crack is deeper than we would want. You got a block, Kev? So yes, I've just said that Jack took slightly too much off her heels, and now I'm using the grinder to take even more off, which seems really strange. But just look at the amount that I'm actually... I spat there, didn't you? Didn't I? Did you see it? Rewind that. But just look at the amount that I'm... Gross, but always whenever you spit, tell people so they don't think that it's commonplace. Anyway, Jack took too much off her heels, and I'm just scuffing them up with the blade of this grinder, barely removing anything, so that Kev boy here can get this block glued on and it won't come off. Now usually I wouldn't actually put a block on this foot. It's not a major problem, she's not lame from it, but that major problem on her back left foot means she's going to favour or use this back right foot even more than she normally would, and that will make this little problem in the white line area become a major one if we don't avert it by putting this block on. Wonder she is so lame, having all that pressure build up within that hoof. Make no mistake, we didn't get all of the pus out there. We can't lance it, we can't cut into it, we can't do anything like that. What we can do is suggest to Jack that he speaks to the vet and gets her more further down the road to recovery. How? You ever run out of words? What we can do is tell Jack that he needs to ask the vet what would be the best course of action for this cow, and then we can return in about a week to 10 days time to see how she's doing then. For now though, that is the Hoof GP. Thank you very much for watching. Craig, what should they do?
Subscribe to the Craigie Boy YouTube channel.
Prick. No, but really, what should they do? Actually,
Subscribe to the Hoof GP.
yay, thank you. Also subscribe to the Craigie Boy YouTube channel. If you just look up, you'll see this ugly mug, and you can subscribe there and see a little bit of action behind the scenes. Look, he's even got his name up here. Looks like a big pile of birds hit the top of the roof, doesn't it? Right, that really is it for now. Make sure you've subscribed and catch us on the next episode of the Hoof GP.